को अंदर लीजिए। हेलो हेलो श्रुति मैम। मैम बोल रहे कि वो आउटसाइड ही है। हेलो हेलो।
रत्ना मैम, श्रुति मैम एडमिटेड मैम।
अच्छा ठीक है। सबको को होस्ट बना दो ना, हम लोग भी एडमिट कर देंगे बाद
Hello and good evening to team. I can see few of the team members.
Good evening, ma'am.
Very good evening to all of you. I can see Makran sir as well. Great. See how many parents have come, and then accordingly we will.
Because you are speaking anything, YouTube live is on.
Okay, Amol sir is also free. Yes, Amol sir. Right. YouTube live is already on. We may begin the session. I think so. It's already 2:58.
Hello, ma'am. May I start? Hello.
Yes, yes, Rumila ma'am, you may start.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. I am audible, right? Hello.
Yes, you are. Please see to it that the students and the parents' mic is off.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can hear a lot of noise from the.
Okay. Okay. Please, parents, please mute yourselves. Okay. Thank you. A very good evening and a warm welcome to one and all present over here. I, Mrs. Rumila Mukherjee, will take this privilege to host this exciting event for today. I would like to present my sincere welcome to our honorable guests for today. Our CMD of Pote Group of Education, Mr. Bipin Pote Sir, our Managing Trustee, Mrs. Meenal Pote Ma'am, our Principal Ma'am, Mrs. Hina Falke Ma'am, our HR Head of Pote Group of Education, Mrs. Beena Nair Ma'am, and our special guest, Miss Latika Suryavanshi Ma'am. I welcome you all to this exciting evening. To begin with, I would like to call upon a persona who is very calm and helpful, who has a solution to all our queries, and she is none other than our very own Principal Ma'am, Mrs. Hina Falke Ma'am. I would request our Principal Ma'am to take over the mic. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Rumila ma'am, for
Thank you, ma'am.
such a sweet introduction. Thank you. To begin with, first of all, a very pleasant good evening to all the dignitaries present today. My dear, lovely team members and parents and my loveliest of students. Students, there are many students who are sitting alone. I suggest you call your parent who is present in the house as of now. It can be your mother, it can be your father. Anyone at least should be present with you. So get them with you. It is going to be a very exciting and informative session for today. To begin with, I would say that change has to come. One has to look forward to change and accept change. But the change should not come only outside or only from top to bottom. The change has to come from within, and the change that comes from within manages your thought process. Hence, we have been celebrating Mental Health Week since a week's time. And I'm glad that our AS level students have also participated to conduct Mental Health Week. They are our psychology students. Actually, mental health clearly emerges as a top concern, and it's very critical that one understands its relevance in context of growth and development, especially in the young adults, like the children of this grade who are attending this particular seminar as of now. Children of grade 7, 8, 9, and 10, maybe middle school and high school in particular, because it has a direct impact on the way they learn anything, or the way they grow, or the way they evolve to become something in life. Because these are the years that will decide what you want to be in life in the upcoming years. So these years are very, very important. And the Cambria International School understands this very nicely. I can see a lot of logos that are put behind children's, a screen. that way. If you have noticed our logo, we have 6 aspects in our logo. And one of the aspect is about mental growth. Now, whenever we talk about, whenever in this society, if we hear the word mental, instantly people connect it to something which is not acceptable, something which is a stigma, and they don't want to accept it. So, since you all are middle school children and high school children, and the parents also are sitting over here, so I would like to tell you is that the dictionary meaning of mental is what? It is something related to mind. So, the way our body needs help to grow, an environment to grow, similarly, a mind also needs environment to grow and to flourish. So it is very, very important that mental health should be prospering in the school with the help of the parents. So that is why today we have called in experts, because we believe that, you know, if you really want to learn or if you really want to grow in some aspect of life, you should take advice from an expert. So today we have an expert with us who deals with the problems of teenage, who deals with the uh, issues that a child faces, and most importantly during this pandemic, the research says that there is a lot of monotony that has set in, there is a lot of irritation that has set in, there is a lot of negative thinking that has set in because of various reasons, because everything you have to do being at home. But I can say that the school is still very successful in conducting interactive online classes, interactive online events for all the kids of our school. So similarly, in that context, we have kept this today's talk, expert talk on mental health awareness. And today's speaker, Ms. Latika Suryavanshi, fortunately is our ex-employee, and she knows our children uh, to an extent. So she will be definitely giving you some tips and some ideas, because school have this unique ability to nip these challenges by establishing healthy, fair and inclusive environments, which to quite an extent we are successful in providing the environment to the children. So I want, for today's session, the parents listen to the session very, very carefully. There will be a lot of takeaways in the session, which will be helpful for the children to master concentration, to elevate their mood when they are little down, or maybe they are not feeling good about anything. So you will get a lot of information on that. So keep watching the entire webinar, and yes, you can definitely post questions as well. So thank you, and let's get on to the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your valuable inputs. Now, let us move forward and take guidance from a persona who is an educationist and always works for other
Urmila,
welfare. Yes, ma'am.
just
Yes, ma'am.
just give me a moment.
Yes, ma'am.
Bipin sir, as of now, is not present in the event.
Okay.
He is stuck with some program. I mean, some important work for school. So very shortly when he arrives,
Okay,
very
ma'am.
shortly when he arrives, we will definitely invite him. All right. So you may invite the speaker, and we can take the program ahead.
Sure, ma'am. Sure. Thank you so
Thank
much, ma'am. Okay. So, moving forward, let me introduce Miss Latika Suryavanshi, ma'am. Latika Suryavanshi, ma'am, is a clinical psychologist, school counselor, and a dog mom with over 3 years of experience in the mental health domain. When she is not counseling little kids, she is using her skills to help adolescents and adults with their mental health. She runs her private practice in Andheri West. Apart from this, she is also a queer affirmative therapist and engages with the LGBTQ community in the mental health domain. She is trained in drawing analysis, a tool that helps therapists understand the subconscious aspects of individuals. Miss Latika uses her free time effectively by gardening, training her pup, and taking care of strays. She is now studying pet behavior and nutrition. So, I would like to call upon Miss Latika Suryavanshi on the mic, please. Ma'am.
Thank you so much, Rumila ma'am, for your kind words and for your introduction. I
Thank you,
really
ma'am.
appreciate it. Thank you so much also Hina ma'am for always encouraging me to take up such roles and for allowing me to serve the community of parents, students, teacher better. Again, I really thank Bipin sir also for inviting me and for having me over. And I really hope that we have his blessings throughout the event with us. So, without further delay, I'll move forward to talking about what is the most important skill that I believe is important for this crucial age that is from 7th to 10th. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, we're not able to fully live our lives like we used to. That means we are missing to going to school. That means we are not engaging in sports, exercise. We are not interacting socially with either our family members, our relatives, or our friends and neighbors. So, children and parents who are attending this workshop and this webinar today, I invite you to message me in the chat box. What do you think are things and skills that you are missing this year that are crucial in some way and that you would like to build on? And why I ask you is because if you are able to make an accurate assessment of what is missing, then you will also be able to treat the problem better. So, again, if you want to treat a disease, then you need to know what is the disease, what are the symptoms of the disease, which is the medication for that disease, right? So, similarly, right now we have a lack of a skill set, or where we are developing a skill set, but it has been hindered because of COVID-19. But worry not, we will work together in developing the skill sets that we are supposed to. However, I must encourage you to message me in the chat box as to which are some of the skills that you believe we are going to miss as a generation because of COVID-19. And again, I must say that there are no right or wrong answers. You are just giving your opinion and as to what you believe is a skill that you would like to have, but you're feeling like maybe I'm compromising on that because I'm not in full-fledged school. I am still attending lectures, I'm still putting my hard work in, but I'm still missing out on some key parts of school life. So I'll just wait for a few minutes for some messages to come in. And if you feel like maybe lately you've gotten used to COVID-19, you've gotten used to lockdown, of course that's possible because we have been in lockdown since March. But maybe you can think of the first few weeks of March when you were just getting into that lockdown. What did you miss the most? At that time, or sometime during the lockdown, there would have been some intense feelings, or oh, I really, really miss this XYZ thing. So you can message me, what do you believe are those things that you have really, really missed out on? For example, right now, especially where I live in Maharashtra, where we all live, we have a night curfew. And that means that individuals who want to celebrate Christmas and New Year will not be able to necessarily do that because they're supposed to be back home by 9 p.m. We also have some unfortunate news that there is a new strain that is stronger and mutating. And that means that we are not able to fully move forward and enjoy the news of vaccination, right? So think again and again the various setbacks and the various, of course, successes that we've had this year. There's a child, I suppose, who's messaged me saying that we missed friends, fun, and being able to interact with people physically. And I really, really appreciate this. Why? Especially because of the word physically. Again, human beings are very sensitive to touch. We really, really want all our senses, that is vision or sight or smell, our hearing capacities, which is auditory, olfactory. We want all our senses to be stimulated. And unfortunately, children these days are going through something called a touch deprivation. By that I mean we are not enjoying things around us, people around us, communities around us, just like we would, right? So if you were to think back to days of Gurukul, where we were learning outside, maybe in a public space, maybe the infrastructure wasn't there, but we were still learning in nature. That means we were interacting much more frequently with plants and animals, other organisms, and also soil. And these are again very sensory feelings and they make us feel calmer. So, one thing that we're really out of touch is nature and friends, but friends, not only human friends, but also our animal friends, right? So, a lot of times children are missing two important skills, that is empathy and also social skills. And hence, my talk today is going to concentrate on how do we continue building that and we don't let COVID-19 hinder our progress. So, without any further delay, I'm going to share my screen. Just a minute. And I really hope that that will be able to, the activities that I share will be able to help you in navigating through these rest of the weeks better. Yes. Is the screen visible? Okay. So the first activity that I want to recommend is drawing. But in this particular activity, I want to invite all your family members to join in with you. And every family member that is there at home has to make a drawing. They can do that in their own time, but I would appreciate if you all take half an hour out of your busy week's schedule and draw together. Now, what this will build, of course, is one, a sense of community, a sense of belongingness, a sense of togetherness. And right after you're done drawing the activity, what I recommend every family member to do is you will take the drawing in front of you and say three things that you like or love about the drawing in front of you. You're not allowed to criticize, you're not allowed to correct, you're not allowed to say anything negative or neutral. You're only allowed to say something that is positive about the drawing in front of you. Now, why this is very important? It's because especially 7th to 10th, we are in our puberty ages. And that means we're already subjected to more scrutiny in our peer group. There is already a lot of pressure building because you're closer to your important grades. You are more tense because you soon know that you're going to step out into the real world, right? In that sense, you're closer to being an adult than you are to being a child. And that means a lot of times you are not let off the hook. Children are constantly caught. Plus, if you think of it, since March, when the lockdown began, to now, December, we are towards the end of this year, your children are right under your noses, right? And hence, we find it much more easy to pick out and see things that they're doing poorly on. That means that things that are not their excelling areas. And unfortunately, that means that children are likely subjected to more scrutiny now than ever in their lives. And unfortunately, they are still missing on the fun. So, if I had to show you a graph, the criticism has increased, the fun has drastically decreased. And hence, this kind of an emotional state is a very volatile state for children to be in. Plus, the peer pressure is, of course, building, even if it is not in a school environment, it may be in a building environment, right? And even if it is not through the peers that the pressure is there, there is still a pressure to grow older, grow more mature, grow smarter, develop a skill set. Sometimes it can also be physical comparisons that, oh, my best friend has gotten 2 feet taller, but I have not. Right? So there is that internal comparison that children are making. And hence, the most important tip that I can give you as peers, friends, teachers, and parents is to make sure that any activity that you do with your child, please point out at least 3 good things about it. And if you still have to provide some feedback, some criticism, please make sure that it is very, very constructive. This will also encourage something called mindfulness. If you have the capacity to go to YouTube, please do that, and also check something called mindfulness drawing or mandala drawing. This is something that is a very popular trend right now, but actually has been something that we as Indians have done for years, and we encourage that in therapy or in counseling because it really helps children expel all their energy. It also helps them express all the feelings that they're having. And sometimes the feelings that we're having are anger and frustration because you have been at home since March. That means that your physical energies and your emotional energies are all stuck in one room. And that's not very fortunate, or that's not a good news for learning, because human beings only learn when they are completely in a calm and a curious state of mind. When we are frustrated, angry, agitated, restless, then we are not opening up our minds for learning. So I encourage children to do drawing even before or after a lecture. I move on to my next activity, which is called taking a virtual tour of an aquarium. So, if you just type these exact words in your Google search, virtual tour of an aquarium, you will be able to witness a completely different reality. You will be able to see different animals and different organisms that you've not seen in a while. And I completely understand that right now we are out of touch with nature, but we can still bring nature in through audiovisual methods. And this is really, really important because it is only when a child is able to take care of an organism that cannot talk, cannot speak for itself, you're able to notice the details between different fishes and different organisms that live in the water, right? Because it's not just fishes that live underwater, it's also seaweeds and different kinds of plants. When a human being or a child is able to notice such details, they are, of course, building on their attention span, they are building empathy, and they are understanding things at a more global level. They are understanding things from perspectives that are not their own. And they are also becoming less self centered, they are becoming less preoccupied with just themselves, right? And this is extremely important because your kids are, again, very soon going to turn into adults who are going to be employees. And most companies now operate at a global level. They really, really appreciate children and adults who have a global awareness about what is happening in different parts of the world, what is happening in different spheres of their lives, what is happening in different modalities, right? For example, even as a psychologist, I must know something about economics. I cannot have a one sided view. Even as specialists, being a multi specialist, something that is much more appreciated than being a specialist of just one area. So, as much as you want your children to master the skills and master the subjects of science and math, if you want them to succeed and again become very valuable employees of the companies that they may be hired in, encourage them to look at a very global perspective. So this tour that can be taken is more of belonging to different countries. It's not necessarily just an Indian aquarium that you're visiting. And that means you also get to visit different plant species and animal species that you would not be able to visit even if the lockdown was not happening. The next activity that I want to suggest, which is again very, very key, taking into account that your child is from 7th to 10th grade, right? And again, like all of you rightly said, we are missing on a lot of fun and games. And it is in this age that we develop a skill set. that we are actually playing the most out of all throughout our childhood, because this is the time when your body can handle that. Your body is ready for all the energy, because your body is going through something called a growth spurt. Now a growth spurt means suddenly my height is increasing, suddenly my body is changing, my voice is changing, maybe my hair length is changing, right? Now, when your body is having so much energy, but unfortunately, you're having to curb all that energy and sit in one place, especially in a closed space, that means that you're again not doing very well physically and mentally. And hence, playing games is the most important suggestion that I have for this specific age group. Also, if you may think of this, I'm sure that most children are planning to go outside and study. They want to probably change a city or change the state that they are living in. They are not going to stay in your nests forever. So, parents, this may be a difficult pill to bite and swallow, but I encourage you to spend some more time with your children and teach them different things through play. It has been said that children who play a lot more are more willing to accept loss and success both. They don't necessarily feel a sense of ego and pride when they fail. They also don't feel completely lost, and they don't get a sense of despair when you are losing something, right? And hence, playing games is a very integral part of childhood. And unfortunately, these children are missing out on that. So, I encourage you to choose one day out of your busy schedule and make sure that you play a game that your child enjoys, and sometimes even a game that your child doesn't enjoy. So, it could be as simple as chess, Uno, badminton, Monopoly, anything that, of course, makes sure that your safety is taken into account. If you do have the space to play an outdoor game, an outdoor sport or activity, then I really, really recommend that. And even if you're playing indoors, I ask you and invite you to design the activity in a manner that there is still a gross movement. Now, a gross movement means our hands and our legs are moving. A fine movement means something like Ludo or something like a puzzle that is in front of you, that only requires you to move your fingers at best, right? So, children in this age, for their healthy milestones development, that is physical development and biological development, they really, really need to have gross physical movement. So, encourage your child to spend some time being physically active or even exercising. So for now, these are my suggestions, but I'm really open to answering some of the questions that parents may have or students may have and children may have, so that I'm able to serve you a little more personally. All these suggestions and activities that I've recommended are for the entire section of 7th to 10th. But maybe your child is struggling for a different reason. And I'm here to answer personalized questions that parents may have. So feel free to message me in the chat box, and I will surely get to your question in a minute. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Latika ma'am. Thank you for your valuable and most informative information that you have shared with our parents today. Thank you so much. It was really informative. Yes, ma'am.
Uh, Rumila ma'am,
Yes,
actually,
ma'am.
Ratika madam will take questions now.
Okay, ma'am.
And parents and students, I have an announcement to make. Bipin sir is stuck in some urgent and important work, so he will not be able to join us today. But very shortly, you all will be listening to him in the upcoming days for sure. And of course, his initiatives are there, his blessings are always there with us, and he is definitely observing this program. So let us continue with the question and answer sessions, as it is important for the children to ask whatever queries you have related to your anxiety, related to boredom, or if you are not able to pay attention, whatever feelings that you are having at this moment of time. We have an expert. You can definitely speak to Miss Latika, and even parents can discuss if they have some certain concerns with Miss Latika. So over to you, Miss Latika, and the parent and the children. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hina ma'am. There's a child who has messaged me and by saying, "Ma'am, I am not good at drawing." Right? So I must say that firstly, I don't believe in something called good or bad. Doing drawing is not about necessarily being good or bad, right? So, for example, if I may show you, I have this pillow cover that has Varley print on it, right? Very simple stick figures, very simple basic drawing of triangle and maybe some very simple leaves. Now, a lot of times we started doing art and they developed into art forms over several years. But individuals who were doing this and experimenting were just expressing themselves. They were just using material that was available at home or available in caves and jungles, like berries and leaves and maybe sticks, to do whatever they could. It was a really good way to channelize their boredom and their energy and leave something for the next generation to come. It is only through their effort of building sculptures, building statues, art, music that we are able to learn from their cultures. And we have become more civilized and we have become better modern humans because of them. It's very important to store knowledge in some form. So, art was one very good way of doing that. First. Second, I always invite children to look at why is it that you want your drawing to be good? Why is it that we are only focused on what is the outcome, but not what is the process? My entire reason of recommending drawing is so that you feel better about yourself, that so that you express whatever it is that you're feeling, right? So for example, let's say if I'm feeling angry, I will hold the pen almost like a knife and I will scribble. If I'm feeling very anxious, maybe I will just scribble in a hurry. Maybe if I'm feeling really good about myself, I will draw in a much better manner. I will actually be invested. So the purpose of drawing is to not be a Picasso or a Hussein. It's simple expression of who you are in that minute. Remember, this is not a drawing examination. This is not an assessment of your skill set. This is not an assessment of who you are. I must say, my child, that your drawing is going to be beautiful regardless of what you draw. And I must encourage you to take up some hobby that helps you channelize your energy and that makes you feel better. Again, जब हम गली क्रिकेट खेलते हैं, हम ये थोड़ी ना सोचते कि हम सचिन तेंदुलकर के है या नहीं है. We need to take the pressure off. Again, like I was saying earlier, the peer pressure is high. The performance pressure is high. Your exams are, of course, a little stressful. You're nearing your 10th grade. That means that a lot of pressures and different kinds of modern day pressures are on you. Now you're learning online, which means you also have to learn a lot more technology, more than ever. So art is going to be one way to release pressure. Now, even there, if we as parents or as adults or as teachers, we start introducing, "Arey, ye drawing to achhi nahi hai," to kya fayda? And hence, exactly why I have recommended you have to only point out 3 good things about every family member's drawings. And why that is important? Because sometimes हम कोई family member से रूठ भी जाएंगे. इतने time से you are at home, it's very possible that you have had fight with some family members, right? So you need to make sure that even when you're angry with someone, you are still able to say 3 good things about them. It will teach you to be a little more optimistic and a little more flexible with who you are. It also teaches you that there is no one right way of drawing, right? So let's say, for example, if I modify the activity a little bit and I say, make it a themed drawing, right? So for example, let's say, आपको हर week, रंगोली draw करना है. Maybe first week rangoli, maybe second week animal, third week a festival drawing. So everyone sitting at the dinner table and making this drawing is going to be drawing a rangoli. Now, not all rangolis are going to look alike, but they will all have something unique about them. They will all have the unique personality of the drawer into the drawing, right? Into whoever is sketching into the drawing. So, please learn to appreciate that you are unique. And that exactly means that you don't need to compare your drawing with another person's drawing. And exactly through this, you will also learn that you don't need to compare yourselves to your peers. You don't need to compare your bodies or your minds or your skill set. I really hope that this child who's messaged me saying that ma'am I am not good at drawing challenges this thought. किसने मुझे कहा कि मैं drawing में अच्छा नहीं हूँ? Who is this person? Because I don't believe that person. I assure you that if I was to see your drawing, I would definitely fall in love with it. And I encourage you to do it a little more, again, just as an expression of yourself. This parent is asking me, hi ma'am, playing games these days means on phone and accessibility is a lot easier. But at points it's disturbing for parents. Kindly advise this to kids. I absolutely agree that sometimes playing games means we are playing on phone. So what we can do is we can download some simple games that give us a gross motor skill exercise, right? So for example, I when my mom was living with me, she started watching YouTube in order to do basic Zumba. Now that was something that I found very fascinating, that she in her 60 years of her life, she has never thought of joining a Zumba class, but during lockdown she wants to learn it online, and I really appreciated that. So maybe I can give you a hierarchy of things that I find important. Now, first thing that is important is to exercise. The second thing is that exercise should be gross motor skills, right? If your child is doing that through the use of audio visual methods like cell phone or laptop, that's okay. But if your child is sitting in one place and playing, and also playing with only himself or only with the computer, then I would say that that's not a very good activity. Now, there are some games online that you can play with groups, right? So you can invite your classmates and even maybe older people, maybe some of your building friends to play with you. If you do that, again, your child is learning to play in a team. He is still or she is still building some social skills, because you have to navigate as a team. So you have to learn to prioritize what is the team's goal over my goal. And it makes them a little less self-centered, right? Maybe I also take this opportunity to talk to kids. Whenever I was in school and this PUBG was one game that would definitely come up, parents would come and say that, ma'am, my child is playing a lot of PUBG. So I would sit down with the parent and with the child and I would negotiate that if the child wants to play PUBG, how many of maximum hours do you think the child should be allowed? And in return, what do you as parents want from the child? Now, some parents would, of course, say that I want my child to study 2 hours. Now, your child is already studying 6 to 8 hours in school and tuitions and maybe doing self study also, right? They are in fact learning all the time, because they are constantly reading some or the other news, even on their cell phone or even on Instagram. There is so much news these days, right? So your child is learning all the time. Instead, if you're taking a fun activity away, and PUBG is really fun for them because it gives them instant feedback and instant responses, right? So PUBG is giving them a lot of feel good chemicals in their brain. If you want to take a fun activity away, you have to replace with another fun activity. And you also have to make sure that your child sees you as fun. So I invite parents to look at your own relationship with your child. If you were to ask your child this question, do you find mama and dada fun? If they say yes, that means you are building a wonderful relationship. But if they say no, that means that you've become a parent, which is good, but you are not able to go down to their level and play with them. And part of parenting is to have fun as your child grows up, because this is the time that you want to make them feel valued. This is the time that they will have fun. They are going to be adults very soon, so they are going to have to do all the adulting and all the skill set. They are going to need that. They're going to have more stress than ever. But I really wish for these children to look at parents as mentors and as fun adults. Otherwise, these children will grow up to dislike adults in and around them. And I don't think that is true. I really think that the parents who've joined me today are capable of having fun with their children, and they're also capable of being strict when they need to. Again, I cannot emphasize enough, सिर्फ छड़ी से काम नहीं बनने वाला. We have to make sure that जहाँ छड़ी की जरूरत है हम वहाँ छड़ी यूज करें, बट जहाँ छड़ी की जरूरत नहीं है, जहाँ टॉयज की जरूरत है, जहाँ फन की जरूरत है, वहाँ हम फन करें. And again, I must say that I'm using chhadi as a metaphor. That does not mean that I encourage hitting a child. I do not support hitting or yelling at a child. Yeah. I also encourage, maybe if there are any more questions, feel free to ask me, parents and students. Even as a group, you can ask me some questions. Maybe you can think about what is it that you have been struggling since March. Maybe this problem also existed before March. Sometimes it can be about confidence, about time management, about attention span, about career development. So any questions that you have, please feel free to message me. I'll just wait for some questions to come in. There's either a child or a parent who's asked how to fight negativity. Now, to be honest, negativity in general, pain and sadness and anger will forever be a part of life. It will, suffering and hurt can be a part of life. But it is our responsibility to teach ourselves, our family members, our children to pay attention to the good in life, right? So, to remind our children that the glass is half full is our responsibility. So, I invite you, this individual who's told me how to fight negativity, I invite this person to maybe message me, what are two good things that happened today, even if you were sad? And once you start questioning things like that what are two good things that happened, or what are 5 good moments I've had in this week, you will realize that even in presence of negativity, there is some positivity, right? So maybe if I use a more global example, we've all read the news about how there is a new COVID strain that is 70% more communicable. मतलब वो ज़्यादा spread हो सकता है, थोड़ा ज़्यादा डरावना है, in simple words. But we've also heard the news about vaccine. I have also personally seen through news that there are so many centers in different countries who've taken the vaccination already, who have had their first dose. And it's not just one vaccine that are out. There are 2 different vaccines from 2 different companies that are already out there. So it is our choice whether we pay attention to negative news or to positive news. Now, of course, in a world where right now the negativity is really high, right now the conflict is really high, right now the stress because of the economy is really high, it can get difficult to pay attention to the good news, right? So when you find it difficult to pay attention to the good parts of your life, to the happy parts, to the fun parts, then at least try and do what you can to eliminate the negativity, right? One of the gurus that I used to follow had told me, Latika, do you ever laugh at the same joke 2-3 times? No, right? You can't laugh at the same joke because it becomes boring. So if you can't laugh at the same joke 2-3 times, make sure that you cry about an incident. Whatever has hurt you, you're allowed to cry. But then don't cry more than 3 times about it. You have to learn to make sure that beyond a point, you let an emotion go after you fully feel it, right? So feel your emotions. Of course, as human beings, we are all going to be sad or angry or frustrated. You and your emotions are absolutely valid, but to what degree are they valid, right? So for example, let's say I have a very young dog, so if he comes and disturbs me, I am going to get angry at him, right? But I will shout at him right now. I will not shout at him 1 week later also for this. So I also ask you, my child, to assess is your response proportionate to the situation. आप 10 मिनट रो रहे हो, ठीक है, बट आप आधा घंटा रो रहे हो क्या, 2 दिन रो रहे हो क्या, 7 दिन रो रहे हो क्या? So please make sure that when you are also dealing with negativity, to contain it to some degree. I'll move to the next question, but in case you feel that your answer is your question is not answered, please feel free to ask some follow-up questions. What time or amount do you suggest for us to play PUBG or games like that? Now, ideally, in a very utopian world, I would say 0 hours, but I understand that this is the reality. And I would ask you and your inner conscience to decide what is right for you. Again, soon 7th and 10th graders, 7th to 10th graders are going to be very independent. So I don't want your parents necessarily monitoring what you're doing. Of course, monitoring is a part of their job. It's a part of their role that they play in your lives. But I don't want them to sort of pose their noses and decide for you. You are independent. So how much do you believe? And I also invite you to take a little more of scientific approach, right? So they say that children who are even as young as 2 years old, if they watch 20 minutes of TV time, their brains are a little more damaged. So imagine if it's just 20 minutes that their attention span is low, their brain development is getting affected. How many hours are you already on a screen because of the COVID-19 pandemic? So PUBG is also going to be, unfortunately, a very unhelpful game in that sense. I ask you to make sure that there is a balance in between the real world games that you play, like Lagori or cricket or badminton, cycling, and make sure that if you play, for every maybe 20 minutes that you play on PUBG, you have to give me half an hour of one of these real world playtime activities. So अगर आपने 1 घंटा PUBG खेला, इसका ये मतलब है कि आपको बहुत सारा टाइम बाहर गुजारना पड़ेगा, and maybe you don't have that time. So balance it in that manner, that for every few minutes that I spend on PUBG, maybe the 3 times of that I will spend in outdoor activities. And at least what you're trying to do is compensate for whatever brain development we are losing. I really hope that that answers your question. This parent is asking, please explain why to my child why time management is important. Now, time management can be important because it helps you be more goal oriented, right? For example, अगर मैं एक degree course कर रही हूँ, now my degree course was 3 years. Now I can easily take 6 years to finish that course. I can also finish that course in 1 year because the subjects are not too difficult. But when you study them over a course of 3 years, then you're making sure that you're grasping maximum amount that you can and you're pacing it out. अगर कोई भी चीज हमने घाई में की, then we are not going to able to grasp most of it. And अगर कोई चीज बहुत टाइम के बाद की, तो भी हमें कुछ याद नहीं रहेगा, right? So let's say for example, if you attend lectures once in a week, next week तक काफी सारा information दिमाग से delete हो जाता है, क्योंकि हमारी brain की holding capacity इतनी नहीं है, unless you revise, unless you make notes, unless you study, right? So in that sense, time management becomes very important, because if you want to grasp the most of things, then managing your time becomes very, very important. And hence I like to ask children and parents to assess, in maybe the 16-18 hours a day that you're awake, what is it that you see your child paying attention to most of the time, right? मतलब वो सबसे ज्यादा अपनी दिनचर्या में क्या करता है या क्या करती है, एंड क्या ये एक्टिविटी जो भी वो सबसे ज्यादा कर रहे हैं, क्या आपको वो वैल्यूएबल लगती है? क्या उस चीज में उस बच्चे का जो इन्वेस्टमेंट है, क्या उससे वो उतना रिटर्न्स दे रहा है, राइट? So for example, let's say if I was studying 3 different courses. Now, out of those 3 courses, not everyone will benefit me equally. There will be some that will be more linked to what I do. There will be some that will, of course, increase my general awareness, but they may not help me in my career so much, right? So the investment that I'm making is not going to yield the same results for all 3 of them. So I ask parents and children for yourself to assess the amount of time money and energy, emotional energy, physical energy, attention span that you're giving to activity? Do you feel that it is rewarding you and it is helping you learn something as much as you want to? And this is exactly what we do when we invest in shares or stock market, right? When we invest, we want to get good returns. We make sure that we are doing very good assessments. So if you are wise with your money, please be wise with the money of your brain, which is your attention span. Your attention span is the currency that you have for your brain. So make sure that wherever you're spending your time and paying attention is something that you really, really find valuable. There's someone who's messaged that, ma'am, my English is very weak. Um, Again, I don't believe in weak and strong and good and bad. I surely understand that that means what you're saying is I can do better. So what I'd like you to do is make an assessment. आप खुद जरा सोच सकते हैं कि what are maybe the 3 most important reasons why I'm not able to learn English better, right? Although I'm of course studying in an English medium school. And if I am probably guessing right, and again, I can be wrong, so please, my child, correct me. I would like you to tell me, is fear or insecurity one of these reasons? Because if there is any other reason like tuition nahi hai, classes nahi hai, books nahi hai, तो हम वो सॉल्व कर सकते हैं, हम fear को भी सॉल्व कर सकते हैं, but fear इन सबसे बड़ा रीजन हो सकता है. So if you believe that it's fear, then please leave me a follow-up message so that I'm able to help you better. Also, once we start believing that I'm already not good at something, हमें वो काम करने का मन नहीं करता, right? Exactly like this child who had messaged me कि ma'am, my drawing is not good, so I don't feel like doing it. So the first thing that you want to do is challenge this idea कि मुझे किसने बोला कि मैं drawing में या मैं English में अच्छी नहीं हूँ. And maybe you want to write that idea and you want to tear it and you want to throw it in the dustbin. Please, please, please do that. Please, if you have any child in this particular webinar who feels that I am not good at something, be it drawing or dancing, please write that on a piece of simple paper and then tear it and throw it in the dustbin. Then please write that I will learn this skill better. And maybe read that statement to yourself again and again. Because I don't believe, for example, maybe I can give you this. When I was a child, my sister used to draw so well that each time I used to see her drawing, I used to be surprised कि इतना अच्छे से कैसे कर रही है. Then I used to compare myself to her drawing and I would think मैं तो इतना अच्छे से कभी कर नहीं पाऊंगी. It was finally at the age of 25 when I moved to Andheri that I actually thought मैं ऐसा क्यों कर रही हूँ, and I started enjoying art. I still don't think that my art can be compared to her art. Her art is going to be very different from my art. And I cannot say that my art is better or her art is better. I can simply say that I wish at age 5 or 10, I had picked up that paintbrush and painted. Because today, doing art is one of my favorite activities that I do, irrespective of which mood I'm in. Even if I'm sad, I can paint. Even if I'm happy, I can paint. Even if I'm feeling bored, I can paint, right? So don't let these statements, these blanket statements that I'm not good and I'm bad or I'm lagging behind, ये front and behind के idea skill set में हमें दूर रखनी ही पड़ेगी, otherwise we will not be able to learn. So what I'm asking you to do is be open to the idea that you are still a learner and you can learn better. I'll see if there's a follow-up answer. This child is saying, no, I don't think it is fear. Okay, so if you don't think it is fear, then what do you think are the 3 main reasons why you believe your English is weak? Till then, what I will also do is I will leave my email ID in the chat box for any parent or child, whoever did not feel comfortable messaging me directly or did not feel comfortable right now in asking this question, please feel free to email me. Maybe, God forbid, if you have a concern that develops 5 years from now, 10 years from now, remember that I'm a psychologist now and I will continue to be a psychologist. So feel free कि आपको कभी भी लाइफ में कोई भी दिक्कत आए तो आप मुझे email कर सकते हैं till we wait for this individual's reply. And I also invite more questions or any other suggestions, feedback that any child or parent has. Please feel free to message me.
All right. Are there any more questions, Ms. Latika? No, there are no questions. All right. Okay. See, parents and children, those who are listening to Ms. Latika, I have noticed that most of the questions are put by students, and they're very eager to know a lot of different things. So I would say, most importantly, when you are in your middle school and in your high school, you have to first of all address your problem. It is extremely important to address your problem, because if you do not address your problem, your parent or your teacher will not understand what are you going through, whether it is fear, it is anxiety, it is difficulty, or it is any habit that you are into, which your conscious mind says that I should not be having this habit. So you have to find somebody confidential to talk to. Of course, there are parents whom you can talk to, there are teachers whom you can, divulge your details, but it is important to say what you feel at your age. It is extremely important. And if you want to excel with respect to questions of academics, children, please remember that practice makes a man perfect. If you want to excel in something, it is very important that you practice it. And practicing it before the day of the exam is not going to help you. You will have to practice in chunks. Like the way Miss Latika was telling, you will have to learn to manage your time, and that begins from the middle school. If you don't manage your time, then the time doesn't wait for you. We cannot eat the food for the entire week in a day. Can we? No, we can't. Similarly, if we pile up our studies all over again and again and again, and we have that intention that, oh, fine, tomorrow will be the exam, so I will prepare myself a day prior, it never happens. Even if you are the most intelligent person, it cannot happen. So with all these tips, you remember things, and rest of the queries you can definitely write it to Miss Latika. She has posted her email ID. I'm very glad that Bipin sir is amongst us, and I'm sure you all must be eagerly waiting to listen to him. So Rumela madam, can you please invite Bipin sir on the dais to speak?
Sure, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Latika, ma'am. Thank you, Hina, ma'am, for your valuable inputs. Now, taking the event further, now let us move forward and take the guidance from a persona who is an educationist and always works for others' welfare and guides us being a better human being. He is none other than our very own CMD, Mr. Bipin Pote sir. I would request Bipin Pote sir to take the mic, please.
Good evening. I don't know. Excuse me if you won't be able to listen me, because I am traveling and I am joining program from my car, sitting in the car. So I put up a background. I
Sir,
hope,
as of
Hina madam,
now,
I am audible, perfectly
yes.
audible.
Yes, sir, as of now, you are very much audible.
Thank you. Uh, So I think all the students had joined or parents are also there.
Parents are also there, but most of the questions are put from the students' end.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So all the team and the Cambria International School, we all are celebrating Mental Health Week. The pandemic situation has created a lot of stress among us, and the Cambria International School and we all had decided we should celebrate Mental Health Week. And a lot of AS level students also taking participation. और सब कुछ last 1 week से हो रहा है. So I'm going to wind up I think within 5 minutes because I think we are having next session as well. I'm already too late. I have a very simple fight tip as I'm also we all are sitting in the same boat. Last 6 months, 7 months, it's really stressful for everyone. I'm having simple 5 tips. I think that will help everyone to reduce the mental stress. The number one, I am calling it the fight trap. We should not fall into this trap. ये 5 ट्रैप है, अगर उसमें से हम लोग उसमें नहीं जाएंगे तो काफी चीजें हमारे साथ अच्छी हो सकती है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल वी हैव अ बिग लिस्ट ऑफ व्हाट वी शुड डू. आई एम सजेस्टिंग व्हाट वी शुड नॉट डू. कौन सी 5 चीजें हमें नहीं करनी चाहिए. एंड द नंबर वन थिंग इज नेवर डू एनीथिंग टू प्रूव एनीवन. द नंबर वन ट्रैप ऑलवेज पीपल आर डूइंग कि मुझे कुछ किसी को प्रूव करना है. वी शुड नॉट डू एनीथिंग टू प्रूव एनीवन एनीथिंग. ये नहीं करना है. द नंबर वन ट्रैप इज in any relationship, in any kind of work, don't do to prove anything to anyone. The number one reason the stress creating among us is we are doing it to prove something to someone. So we should not do that. Number one. Number two, don't seek for the validation. Always we whatever you are going to do, हमें जो करना होता है, we always seek for the validation. कि भाई मुझे validation कहाँ से मिलेगा, कौन लोग मुझे appreciate कर रहे हैं. Believe me, we all love, we all like validation, approval सभी को अच्छा लगता है. Even if you ask me, मुझे भी अच्छा लगता है. I will like it, but I don't need it. मुझे अच्छा लगेगा, but मुझे उसकी जरूरत हमेशा होनी चाहिए, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. To do any work, you should not seek any validation. Always, it's good अगर हमें मिलता है तो enjoy it, but don't do it because लोग हमेशा ही आपको appreciate करेंगे, अप्रूव करेंगे जरूरी नहीं है. तो ये हमें करना चाहिए. नंबर 3 इज इमेज ट्रैप. इमेज ट्रैप इज समथिंग जहां पे लोग क्या कहेंगे. कुछ भी हम करने से पहले अगर हम बच्चे हैं तो हम सोचते हैं मेरे पीयर्स में बच्चे, मेरे फ्रेंड्स क्या कहेंगे, लोग क्या कहेंगे. अगर आपके पेरेंट है, पैंडेमिक में वी आर फेसिंग लॉट ऑफ इश्यूज, तो एक इमेज ट्रैप में आ जाता है कि अभी मेरी एक लाइफस्टाइल थी, अभी मैं मेंटेन नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ, तो अभी ये नहीं कर पाएंगे तो लोग क्या कहेंगे. तो वी शुड नॉट फॉल इनटू दैट ट्रैप ऑफ लोग क्या कहेंगे. तो ये वन ऑफ द इम्पोर्टेंट थिंग कि बहुत जगह पे बहुत सारी काम करने की हमारी विश होती है कि पीपल आर सीइंग मी, लोग मुझे देख रहे हैं, तो उस वजह से हमें कोई काम नहीं करना चाहिए. तो ये नंबर 3 ट्रैप हमें अवॉइड करना चाहिए. नंबर 4 इज कंज्यूमरिज्म. आई मीन we are living in social media. We are seeing the every day new product is coming. सिंपल है, अभी iPhone 12 आया हुआ है. सो मैं सभी लोगों को एक कॉमन एग्जांपल बता रहा हूँ. आई हैव अ वेरी सिंपल फिलोसॉफी. आई एनकरेज ऑल ऑफ यू, वी ऑल कैन फॉलो इट. जैसे आई एम यूजिंग आईफोन, एप्पल फोन, तो मेरी एक सिंपल फिलोसॉफी, भाई 2 साल तक फोन चेंज नहीं करना. तो कोई 13 का बेस्ट मॉडल आ जाए तो आई शुड नॉट हैव रिग्रेट कि अभी मुझे ये लेना. तो ये कंज्यूमरिज्म मॉडल है जो मेंटल प्रेशर क्रिएट कर रहा है, नीड क्रिएट कर रहा है. हमारे पीएस में कोई बता देता है तूने नेटफ्लिक्स पे ये देखा क्या, मुझे देखना है कि नहीं मुझे मालूम नहीं, लेकिन सब लोग देख रहे, बात कर रहे, तो मैं उसे देख रहा हूँ. तो ये कंज्यूमरिज्म हो रहा है. तो वी शुड अवॉइड इट. एंड नंबर 5, यू कैन नॉट करेक्ट एनीवन. आई मीन हम बोलते हैं मैं इसको करेक्ट कर पाऊंगा, उसको करेक्ट कर पाऊंगा. वी कैन नॉट करेक्ट. वी कैन प्रोवाइड गुड रिसोर्सेज, गुड एनवायरनमेंट, बट हम किसी को करेक्ट नहीं कर सकते. तो मेंटल हेल्थ के लिए ये 5 ट्रैप हमको संभालने जिसमें हमें नहीं खेलना है. And the last 3 C's: never compare, never criticize, and never complain. And then what comparison is? Never compare your life to anyone. So बहुत जगह पे सोशल मीडिया पे जो हम देखते हैं वो 10% लाइफ होती है लोगों की, चाहे वो सेलिब्रिटी हो, पॉलिटिशियन हो, कोई भी हो, वो रियल लाइफ नहीं होती. सो नेवर कंपेयर योर लाइफ विद अदर्स. यू आर हैविंग योर ओन स्ट्रगल. हर एक का एक स्ट्रगल होता है जैसे आपका है. सो नेवर कंपेयर. इट्स वेरी सिंपल एग्जांपल मैं दूंगा. अगर 2 सीड्स एक ही टाइम पे हम लोग उसे वो ये सो करते हैं और वहां पे अगर देखते हैं तो सभी को सेम धूप, सेम पानी, सेम सॉइल मिलेगी, बट जरूरी नहीं सेम दोनों ग्रो होंगे. नेचर हैज देयर ओन ग्रोथ साइकिल. हर नेचर की एक खुद की एक ग्रोथ साइकिल होती है और दे फॉलो इट। तो हमें देखना है कि शायद किसी की ग्रोथ साइकिल कोई एज में होगी, मेरी लेट होगी। वी आर ऑल ईटिंग KFC बर्गर, मैकडोनल्ड बर्गर। अगर इसकी हिस्ट्री जाने तो इनके जो ओनर्स है, इन लोगों ने एज 60 के बाद ये वेंचर चालू किए। सो डोंट फॉलो कि मार्क जकरबर्ग 21 में फेसबुक चालू कर रहा है, विराट कोहली बहुत जल्दी सक्सेसफुल हो रहा है, या मीडिया दिखाएंगे तो मीडिया आपको हमेशा 16, 20, 23 वाले लोग दिखाएंगे और ये नहीं दिखाएंगे। दैट डजंट मीन यू शुड कंपेयर योर लाइफ। तो world clock is different, your individual growth cycle, your individual clock will be different. So never compare your life. This is my takeaway. Please follow it and enjoy your mental health, because it's one of the important thing in life. If you are mentally happy, mentally fit, you can accomplish anything in life. You can face any challenges. अगर यहाँ स्टूडेंट मुझे सुन रहे हैं तो स्टूडेंट लाइफ में स्ट्रेस क्रिएट होने का नंबर 1 रीजन होता है कि जिस टाइम पे जो काम करना है वो नहीं किया जाता है, बाद में करते जाते हैं हम लोग, और करना तो होता ही है आज में। और अगर हम पढ़ाई पेरेंट बोल रहे हैं, टीचर फॉलो दे रहे, इसके लिए कर रहे हैं, तो ये हमेशा मेंटल स्ट्रेस देगी। आई एम नॉट एक्सपेक्टिंग कि हर बच्चा एकेडमिक में ही अच्छा होगा, आपके कोई और भी अच्छे पॉइंट होंगे जहाँ पे अगर आप काम करोगे तो आगे चले जाओगे। बट सम बेसिक रूल्स, अगर आप स्पोर्ट्स अच्छा लगता है, आपको म्यूजिक अच्छा लगता है, आपको डांस अच्छा लगता है, आपको एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप अच्छी लगती है, आपको जो भी कुछ अच्छा लगता है, लेकिन मेंटल हेल्थ सभी जगह पे जरूरी है। और कुछ क्राइटेरिया होते हैं कि उसी दिन का काम उसी समय पे करना, पैशन के साथ करना, इंटरेस्ट के साथ करना। दीज आर द कॉमन मेट्रिक्स जो आप कोई भी काम में आपको करनी ही होती। So we wish best of luck, have a great life ahead, and all the team well done. We are celebrating mental health week since week, and all are doing hard work. So, and thank you, Miss Latika. She is the right person. She will do a lot of tip to you. So yes, Hina madam, I'm done with next program. I'll text you whether I'm able to join. I'm traveling. Let's see on the range.
Yeah. Sure, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable inputs. I'm sure the students have got to learn a lot of things through Bipin sir as well. I think Latika madam's session is done. Team, you may please move ahead with the program and conclude the program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your inspirational inputs, and thank you, everyone. Parents, I would just like to inform you there is a feedback link provided in the chat box. Please provide your valuable feedback in the link provided to you. This is what I wanted to say. And now moving on, now I would request Mrs. Archana Shankar to take this event forward with a vote of thanks. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yes. Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Good evening, everyone, one and all present here. I, Mrs. Archana Shankar, on behalf of the Cambria International School and the entire fraternity of the Institute, it is a privilege and great joy for me to extend a vote of thanks for this event to all dignitaries assembled here. A heartiest thanks for our management, Honorable Mr. Bipin Pote sir and Meenal ma'am. Though Meenal ma'am is not present with us today, we are very enlightened with your knowledge and guidance, sir and ma'am. We are thankful to our beloved principal, Mrs. Hina Falke ma'am, who has honored this function with her inspirational thoughts. Our heartiest thanks to the speaker of the day, Ms. Latika Suryavanshi ma'am, who have given us a session with a lot of precious knowledge worthy takeaway. A special thanks to all our audience for making this function as a grand success. I would like to thank our teaching and non-teaching staff for their unflinching support and coordination. With these warm words and kind message, we move to the end of today's meet. Thank you all.
Thank you, Archana madam, for your vote of thanks. Thank you, Bipin sir. Thank you, Meenal madam. Thank you, entire team, my dear parents, lovely students. Have a very happy, blissful, and a blessed day ahead. Stay healthy, stay safe. Goodbye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.